Hello and welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we discuss ceiling fan history, trivia, and technical information. Today we're going to talk about Harbor Breeze, and I bet you that's a sentence you never thought you would hear me say. So, on one of the Workbench videos, I always ask for suggestions. Somebody said, can you do a video on Harbor Breeze fans? And I said no, or at least I thought no, because I was like, that's not going to be interesting. They're just a store brand company that relabels whatever they can get. Mostly boring stuff. There's not really going to be any information for a Workbench video, but I said, let me look into it. And I was wrong. It's interesting. Full disclosure, I did the same thing for Hampton Bay and found nothing interesting, so there won't be a Hampton Bay video unless some new information comes up. But let's talk about Harbor Breeze. In 1982, Harbor Breeze fans show up at Payless Cashways, which is a discount chain that sells stuff. I can't remember if they're a lumberyard or building center type place or more of a Kmart type place. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's make this a outtake, and I'm going to look that up. Hello, and welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we discuss ceiling fan history, trivia, and technical information. Today, we're going to talk about Harbor Breeze. I bet you that's a sentence you never thought you would hear me say. I always ask for suggestions for Workbench topics, and somebody suggested Harbor Breeze. And I said to myself, no, but I did some research, and it turns out it's interesting. So full disclosure, while I was at it, I researched Hampton Bay just in case they turned out to be interesting. They're not. So there won't be a Workbench video on Hampton Bay unless new information. But let's talk about Harbor Breeze. So Harbor Breeze first shows up in 1982 at Payless Cashways Lumber, not Lowe's. That was the first thing that really surprised me. They did not start out as a Lowe's brand name. So that's 1982. Based on the ads, they look like maybe air-cool products, maybe Commander products. I can't say for sure, but they've got chunky housing, GE vent fans with bell canopies. They've got spinners, just what you would expect from imports in 82. 1983 and 1984, no fans show up as Harbor Breeze, but they are a brand of slacks at JCPenney. In 1985, I want to just go back to the 82 fans real quick. They look almost identical to what was being sold under like the Toastmaster name at that time. You know what? Outtake, because I'm gonna come back to that. Hello and welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we discuss ceiling fan history, trivia, and technical information. Today we're going to talk about Harbor Breeze, and I bet you never thought you would hear me say that. I always ask for suggestions for Workbench topics, and somebody suggested Harbor Breeze, and I said, no. But then I did some research. Turns out it's interesting. So we're going to talk about Harbor Breeze. Just in case you're curious, I checked Hampton Bay as well. Nothing interesting. So unless new information arises, we won't be talking about Hampton Bay. But let's get into Harbor Breeze. In 1982, Harbor Breeze fans show up at Payless Cashways Lumber, not Lowe's. They did not start out as a Lowe's house brand, or at least fans were sold under that name other places. That's 1982. The fans that are advertised look like they could have been made by Aircool or Commander. They're very similar to what you would see from like Toastmaster fans from that era. Chunky GE vents with cane and bell canopies, spinners with small canopies. You get the idea. No clue what they really were because we're just looking at advertising pictures, but they look like, pretty common, early 1980s imported fans. That's 1982. 1983 and 1984, there are no fans that show up labeled Harbor Breeze, but Harbor Breeze is a brand of slacks sold at JCPenney. In 1985, Harbor Breeze fans show up at a lumberyard called Church's Lumber, and they look like they could be air-cooled products. In 1986, the same fans show up at Church's Lumber and Meeks Lumber. In 1987, the same fans show up at Meeks Lumber. In 1988, Harbor Breeze fans again are at Meeks Lumber, but now they appear to all be relabeled Encons. In 1989, Harbor Breeze fans are still at Meeks Lumber. Now they're relabeled SMC products. 1990 is the first year that Harbor Breeze fans are advertised at Lowe's, and they are relabeled SMC and Aircool products, and they are also at Meeks Lumber, and they are relabeled Encon products. I don't know if it's different fans for different retailers or if it's just what's advertised at Meeks is different than what's advertised at Lowe's, but they all sold the same thing. I'm guessing it's the second thing. I'm guessing they just sold the same fans to everybody, and what they chose to advertise was different. So that is the Harbor Breeze name prior to their arrival at Lowe's. After 1990, you stop seeing them other places. It's clear that Lowe's has now I'm stumbling over my words too much. We're gonna have to start over. Hello and welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we discuss ceiling fan history, trivia, and technical information. Today we're going to talk about Harbor Breeze, and I bet you never thought you would hear me say that. So I always ask for suggestions for Workbench videos, and someone said, well, why don't you do Harbor Breeze fans? And I said, no, because I didn't think it would be interesting. But then I did a little research. It turns out it is interesting. Full disclosure, I checked Hampton Bay as well. Not interesting. So there will not be a Workbench video on Hampton Bay unless I learn new information that makes them interesting. But let's find out about Harbor Breeze. So, fans sold under the Harbor Breeze name first show up in 1982 at Lowe's? No. At Payless Cashways Lumber. And the fans that are advertised look like Toastmaster type fans. Maybe they could be made by Air-Cool or Shichen or Commander. They got the chunky GE vents with the bell canopies and cane. They got spinners with small canopies. Very much what you would expect from early 80s moderately cool imports. That's 82. 1983 and 1984, there are no fans advertised as Harbor Breeze, but there are slacks advertised as Harbor Breeze at JCPenney. So in 83 and 84, you can't buy a Harbor Breeze fan, at least that I can find in advertisements, but you can buy some Harbor Breeze pants. That's 83, 84. In 1985, a lumberyard called Church's Lumber is now advertising Harbor Breeze fans, and they look like relabeled Air-Cool products. They're also at Church's Lumber in 86, but they're also at a lumberyard called Meeks Lumber in 86. In 87, they're at Meeks Lumber. In 88, they're at Meeks Lumber, but now they appear to be relabeled Encon fans. In 88, I screwed it up again.